Hey everyone, welcome to Teen Art Studio. Very happy to be offering this virtually to you. Sad we can't be in the Creativity Center in our typical Waterview classroom, but we can certainly do this from home and create a great portfolio piece using today's theme, which is called line drawing techniques or line drawing methods. So I went ahead and I created this prior to filming, and I basically did 5-inch lengthened boxes, so 1 inch by 5, and each one of the boxes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are an inch big. And I decided to use different types of methods. So methods that I'm mostly comfortable with. I recommend going on Google and looking up some different types of methods. Just type in line drawing methods or techniques. And value scales. These are all different types of value scales that you can achieve using pen and ink medium. So lots of portfolios that you submit to colleges and high schools have drawings with graphite, charcoal, but really showing that you understand value by using a pen or ink is really important. It's indicative of your knowledge of how to draw and how to see. So if you can achieve this is a good look. To put in your portfolio. It can be a small or big. Note that when you're trying to achieve a dark color, you have to overlap with your line making. So up here you can see my hatching. Imagine if there were to be a 6th box right here, it'd be almost completely black. And on the other side, if you were to imagine a 0 box, it'd be almost completely white. And you kind of want to work in between. So we did hatching, which is making lines in one direction, cross hatching, crossing those lines, and then overlapping so you get a dark color. And then at the bottom here is stippling. You're basically just bouncing your pen up and down, straight up and down to create that dark value. What I naturally gravitate to is this scribbling technique. It's just how I draw. It's what comes naturally to me. So that's the method I'm going to use on my drawing that I'm about to show you. But the first part of this is to create 3 of your own methods. So you can use some of these here. Like I said, go ahead and Google. There's hundreds of them out there. Pick one that you feel comfortable with drawing. For me, scribbling is just naturally what I do. So if you happen to be really precise, maybe you want to do stippling, or you might see another line making method that appeals to you. Go ahead and do that. But practice this. Go from 1 to 5 and up in your gradient and get in those neutral areas, the 2, 3, 4. Those are probably the hardest ones to do because you're working with those middle tones. All right, so do 3 of those. After you've mastered this, you can go ahead and draw something. You can draw anything in your house. You can draw your shoe, you can draw a hammer, you can draw a remote control if you want. The less details, the easier, I'd say. I'm gonna draw my hand because it's what I've got with me right now, and I think that's what can be easily achieved here. So what we're using today is Prismacolor fine line markers. This is a 0.08, so it's giving me kind of a thicker line. You can go all the way down to 0.01, and that's going to give you a really small line or dot, depending on what you're doing. So, all right, let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to achieve scale in value, and I'm just capturing the general shape. As you can see, I'm not at all being particular or hung up on big details. I'm noticing that most of my shadow is coming right down here. So my light source is straight ahead. My light source is coming straight ahead from the window outside. So that means the lightest parts are going to be what's seeing the window or what's being hit off the window. Right here from my vision, I'm looking at this at a little different angle than the camera is pointing at. So my vision is noticing the tops of my knuckles are bright, and there's a little bit of a shadow that's cast down below my knuckles. So I'm going to make sure that I zap those in. And down here is probably the darkest part. So if we were going to go back to that grayscale, the number 5 for me would be right down here. And in between, the lines in my hands create a dark value. And then the middle tones are kind of all around, but I do notice this area and my knuckles and a little bit of my thumb. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to touch that on my paper until I'm ready. Even if so, I might not. So if we're using pen to create the shadows, we're going to use the lack of pen or the lack of line to create those whites. And just bear with me as I do this. Again, imperfectly. And here I go with my scribbles. So when I do decide to, rather than drawing an outline or drawing lines, I'm building it up with the scribbling technique. I could easily just kind of outline this, but you're not getting the true depth of perception with that technique. So that's why we're creating little lines. If I were to be drawing this with pencil, I would be constantly blending with my hand. But right now I don't have that luxury. That's kind of the great part of this method. And you see me doing these little lines. I also see a shadow that's being cast all through here. And I'm, again, avoiding that area that's bright to me. So first, zap in your darks, leave your whites alone. And then you can go ahead and go in with your middle tone. So that's going to be your 2, 3s, and 4s on that value scale. So I'm kind of like, now I'm going in, I'm overlapping my line, not where where those middle tones are, what we were talking about before. But I do definitely want to avoid the whiter parts on here and not overwhelm the paper with my lines. So okay, so now I'm really, because this is the darkest space, I'm going to go in. The more you overlap, the darker the color you're going to get. And now this is kind of when it's coming to life. So we can combine methods. So if I wanted to, for example, I could start to stipple, maybe not directly onto the hand, but in a different area. So this is the shadow that's being cast onto my board down here. You can also do it up here a little bit. So don't be shy about just using one method. You can totally use multiple methods in this. Yeah, so just be organized with your thoughts. The best thing you can do to prepare yourself for this is by having the value scale completed and good full knowledge of it, and making sure that you leave those whites alone. You can leave those, if you leave those whites alone, you'll be in business. If you wanted to, you can go back in with some straight line. It loses a little bit of character when you start to get really outliney and Disney outliney on it. So just be careful of that. Then things start to develop a kind of a cartoonist looking atmosphere or space. So just be careful. draw anything, draw it big, put it into your sketchbook. It can be a practice. Evidence of you even trying to work on this is great. If I was looking at portfolios, I definitely want to know that the student that is applying to the school is interested in line and knows how to use it and knows how to create value with different types of media. All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day. And I look forward to working with you next week. We'll be working with charcoal, and we will be creating a still life drawing, a kind of fun still life drawing. We're going to get a little messy. We can also use pencil too next week. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys have a lovely week.